Hello, EggChasers. It's the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, a podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. Back in the rugby dungeon as we are, 52 weeks of the year. Even on those weeks when we actually can't physically get together on a Sunday night, which is what is happening at the moment. JB and I, we said this at the end of the last podcast. Yeah. We might as well come clean and be honest. We are going to get together on Monday when Phil is back from his charity marathon walk effort.
He's doing 120 miles walk?
Yeah.
Which is a hell of a lot.
I mean, that's brutal.
Isn't it?
Absolutely brutal. I'll give the charity again. It's... what's the name of the walk?
Rally Round Rupert.
Rally Round Rupert, yes. For someone we've all played rugby with and a good bloke, George Mosey's son, with a degenerative muscular disease, which there is incredible scientific work going on to develop cures for. Have already improved and extended young Rupe's life, and with your help can make even more of a difference. Yeah,
brand new charity which I've set up. It is a remarkable story, and again, I won't tell it on this podcast because I won't do it justice. But they've had like messages of support from like Harry Kane, Sinfield, which of course he would because he is the man.
Yeah,
and just lots and lots of endorsements, which is good to see. So hopefully they'll march around the Cleveland Way in a timely fashion.
109 miles, Cleveland Way, 100 friends, aiming to raise 100 grand for Rally Round Rupert.
About 5 will finish.
Yeah, well,
I don't think I'd finish.
It's tough that.
No, actually, I could finish. It's a walk, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it's just one foot in front of the other, I could do that.
If you want to track how Phil's getting on and send him your support, whether emotional or, come on, a little bit of cash.
Financial.
Then, GoFundMe has got the, just look for Rally Round Rupert. Anyway, that's why Phil's not here. JB and I are here on the longest day. It's the 21st.
Is it?
It's Wednesday night.
Right. So interestingly, I'm going to Barcelona tomorrow because, just like Phil, I'm a hero. And I picked last weekend to go. The reason I picked last weekend to go was because I did this about 5-6 years ago in Barcelona on the lightest day of the year, or the weekend of the lightest day of the year. It is wild.
What?
I'm sure there's some festival to mark it. So
this isn't a stag do or anything. This is just a...
No, it is a stag do, but I manipulated everything to make sure it was this weekend or last weekend. I used all of my powers to do this. I led the horses to water, and now they're going to drink. So I'm going to go again. And it honestly, last time, there are not many cities in the world, right, where your chances of getting mugged or pickpocketed are, broadly speaking, 100%, and it's still the best city in the world.
And chances, I don't know if this is a story you shared or if this is a different friend of mine, the chances of waking up in a transsexual's
No,
house.
This isn't my story.
No, that's not your story.
I wish it was. How does one do this? Where were they?
Who told me that? Who's telling me that about Barcelona? They got pickpocketed, had no phone or money, and then woke up in the house of someone that was a transsexual.
Phenomenal.
Or was it a ladyboy? It was a ladyboy.
A ladyboy?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was. I don't know the ins and outs of the story, but you get the gist.
Yes.
And they had a good weekend. That's all I heard from whoever that was that told me that story. I thought it was you, not about you, but about a stag do you've been on.
I wish it was me.
What social kind of games are you going to be playing?
Well, I'm going with a bunch of boys. So it is my future brother-in-law's stag do.
Yeah,
and his friends don't seem to be that organised. They've opted for 4 nights in Barcelona, which I happily accepted.
Yeah.
From what I can tell, they haven't organised a thing. They have not organised a thing. Luckily, I've got maps and all sorts of stuff. So my rules are, broadly speaking, this: in the day, do what you want with me. At night, you're more than welcome to come out with me, but I will be going out.
Well, I don't know where we go from there, JB, but this is just a little offering to keep us ticking over until we get together for a full podcast. But so anything could have happened between when we record this now on Wednesday night and Sunday, when we're putting this out. Yeah,
there's a good chance that by the time we return from the various things that we were doing, rugby has closed down altogether. Several clubs have gone bankrupt. It's a fascinating time in rugby. So, obviously, the 2 bits of news since we last podcasted were Wales adopting these ridiculous high tackle laws. Now, it's unclear to me whether they're actually bringing them in or they intend to bring them in. So we'll have to wait and see. So I might get one more season in. They can't possibly say at this late stage.
Well, you'd think,
next season. Next season we're doing it.
It's nearly July, so pre-season training will be starting imminently. And they have released a statement. It's all when you see all this, it's like the decision was already made.
Of course, it's already made.
The decision in all these cases, the decision's already made, and this is what sticks in the craw a little bit. It's just there's no honesty with it.
No, it's completely dishonest.
The decision was already made, and I think Wales were just scared by the PR disaster of the RFU in England.
Are a PR disaster, and this is what I was hoping for. Really, I was hoping for two things. Number one, there was a tactical mistake by England to do it first, because this would have put all the other unions on alert, like, no, we're not doing this, because look at the backlash in England. And the second thing I was hoping for is that the WRU is such a hellhole, whether it be harassment lawsuits, whether it be the way that they're treating their players, whether it be regional rugby, the north-south divide, you name it, it's all going wrong in Wales. So to bring this onto the table for them as well, I'm surprised that they did it, but they have reluctantly done it. It's not clear if they're going to bring it in for next season. So I need to.
That's what they say. That's the intention.
Is that what it says?
23, a 2-year trial. They're saying a 2-year trial at every level from Championship and below.
Why not make the pros do it? I will never understand this.
No.
Why not make the pros do it? They make a list, and I tell you what, some people on Twitter, ex-pros who've got serious brain injuries, which might or might not be linked to their dementia. We don't actually know that. It might be, it might not be. Who are pushing these changes on the community game should be ashamed of themselves, because we're not suffering from these things in the community game. So why change our game when you took your money, you played the game, you took the risk, you got all the fruits of your labour, and now you're changing the community game? Why not change the pro game?
Well, so we've talked about this on many podcasts before, which people can go and check.
God, I'm angry.
I guess I would summarise my thoughts on it in that there possibly was a window of time when the threshold for these legal cases, which is what everyone seems to be saying, but we've got to do this because it's the legal cases. No. The legal cases have got to demonstrate negligence.
Yes.
So it's not just that it was a different time and we didn't have the awareness, and the threshold for these people being able to prove, they have to prove negligence. So they have to be able to prove that there was knowledge of things which could have improved the concussion issue. Which there was a period of time where I'm sure there was research that was being done, and it might not have filtered down properly. There's a case there. But then they also have to demonstrate that it was rugby alone and those incidents in that window of time which caused any potential issue later on. Because drinking, because any number of things. I remember one of my earliest memories is of trying to cycle over a little ramp that we made out the front of my house, and I just the front wheel just went slowly off the end, and I just landed on my head, and I ended up in hospital. I remember I have this vague memory of just like weaving up the garden path. That's got as much chance to cause any degenerative brain issue as anything that happened on the field. So I'm not negating that is an issue. I'm just saying the threshold is so high that and as you've just pointed out, the other summary the thing that Phil always says is happy for a trial, but there hasn't been. There's no established demonstration of an issue at the community level of the game.
There's no issue in the community level.
To make it a blanket trial at only the community game.
Well, we just have to remember, don't we, that people who say they're following the science are so often not. And it's behaviour like this from authorities. Zealotry behaviour like, which makes everyone question everything. You know, it's not funny that they say we're following the science, yet they can't back it up. And if anyone tells me to follow the science, I ask them a simple question. Give me the numbers then. Give me the numbers. And when you ask them for the numbers, it degenerates pretty quickly. Well,
it degenerates to general statements like, well, they had a trial in France and it came down. It's like, yes, but when you examine the numbers...
To what?
You go,
from where?
Over an entire season, it reduced the amount of concussions per team by less than half of one concussion.
So
out of 30 guys... An entire season, you'd have to play 2 full seasons to get one further concussion. And concussion doesn't mean a huge one. It means anything where there might be a suspected concussion, which people were looking for. So the point being is it's, when you actually do break the numbers down, we've said all this before on many podcasts.
Yeah. When you actually drill... So the RFU don't put people forward, but they did put someone forward for the Lancashire meeting, which I attended. And when you really hammer home your points and you get them on the back foot and you make them explain, it degenerates to this. And this is not a word of a lie. They said, yes, we know it's not going to reduce the individual risk. Everyone needs to remember this. It will not reduce your individual risk, but it will reduce concussions overall. I swear to God this was said. And that will ease the pressure on the NHS.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
What are we doing to our game? Sorry?
Oh my God.
And that was from the RFU guy. So that was like his fullback position for when you really drill down deep. And this is in front of many Lancashire clubs and both of our councillors. And they're still so incompetent that they voted this through. And thinking back about it now I've opened this can of worms of just paying attention to the RFU. Their financial incompetence, their mismanagement of the game, the state of the Premiership, which is actually part of the RFU remit to make sure there is a healthy professional game, even though it's led by owners. You add all these things together. This is what they chose to spend their time voting on. They spent less time voting on this because it's basically waved through by the councillors than they did voting on the transgender issue. They debated 4 hours on if transgender women can play in the women's game. 4 hours they could be bothered devoted to that. They passed this law which obliterates clubs like mine and my experience of the game without debating it. They didn't debate it, they just passed it instantly within 30 minutes. It tells you everything you need to know about these cowards.
I'd be up for a trial.
I wouldn't.
But this is... Well, no, I'm okay with a trial because I think... But a trial, I don't mean a trial being every person playing up until the third tier of the game all the way down.
Well, we've had trials.
And excluding the top two leagues. That is not a trial, that is implementation.
Yeah, so with the trials we've had, with the Championship, was the Championship Cup or something like that?
Yeah.
And that was abandoned because of safety, because it wasn't safer. And the other one was actually 2 weeks ago, where Rugby League trialled it in Bradford Academy, and it was 40 penalties by half-time. 40 penalties.
Wow.
So they're trying to push this through. And it's got very little to do with safety. It's got everything to do with...
Yeah.
It's got almost nothing to do with the court cases. And it's got everything to do with appealing to people who don't play the game and appeasing people who don't even like the game. They'll never be happy until this game is finished. So that's what we're up against.
So, what was the thing the other day that I saw? I can't remember. There was some celebrity, and it happened again, and they apologised, and I just thought, you're not actually sorry for that. You just took a reasonable stance on something. It'll come to me who it was in a minute, but this is just this happens all the time at the minute. A well-known person has a reasonable opinion about something which some people may disagree with, and they say sorry to try and make it all go away, and
they're not going away,
and it won't go away, and it only makes it worse.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. Saying sorry does not help.
Well, say sorry if you're sorry. If you actually think,
I say sorry.
Yeah,
all the time when I think that I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but if you're doing it just to make people go away,
it won't work.
Absolutely pointless.
It won't work. So there'll be something next. This won't be enough. There'll be something next.
Of course, right. The evil part about this, which nobody's picking up on, and I'm right about these things all of the time, absolutely all the time, is the little weasel language about the ball carrier dipping. That is going to be... Because this isn't going to work. Because ball carriers will dip, there's still going to be concussions. The next thing is going to be restriction on ball carrier movement. It's going to be, you're going to have to be upright, and then you're going to have to present a target for the tackler to hit.
Yeah, because I said on the last podcast, it's encouraging. I'm not happy for the reasons I've said, not because I'm against it, but just because this isn't the way to implement such a substantial change when the evidence for it hasn't been established. But that ambiguous statement about ball carriers not dipping significantly into contact. What does significant mean? Well, not very much. Quite a lot is what we've established so far, because the guidance in England appears to be that means parallel to the ground, which never happens. But I suspect you're probably right. Over time, that will gradually change until they put through what they decided in the first place they wanted to put through anyway. Yeah.
And the other thing was French squad. So high tackle law.
So, sorry, just to go back, does that mean you, assuming they are bringing this in, which it looks like they are, that's you retired?
Not doing it, not playing. Like, people keep on sending me these invites to say a charity game. I can't remember the last one. It's like Sale Legends for Will Cliff Testimonial, but it was played at FC. So I don't know. I can't remember exactly what the matchup was. So is this new laws or old laws? I'm not watching any new laws. Don't want to watch it. I watch old laws, and when they change up for the pro game, I might look at the amateur game. But I think these people who are in charge of this, well, they're not doing it for the good of the game. They're not doing it for the victims of concussion. They're not doing it for the guys with dementia.
No, they're not
doing it for something completely different.
Yeah, and they're not doing it for the people who are currently engaged in the sport.
No, absolutely not. They couldn't care less. In fact, they want us out the sport. The best thing for them is for us to be removed from the sport, and hopefully they'll get a brand new imaginary rugby cohort, which better suits the demographics that they're trying to appeal to advertisers with. That's what the hope is, because it's not trendy to say to your advertisers, well, rugby is watched mostly by middle-class white men. Give us some money. I mean, it's very cool if you're St James's Place or one of the big investment houses. That's why it's the Investec Autumn Internationals, or for the longest time, the Bankers HSB, HBOS Six Nations, or whatever it is. But when you want to sell to, you want to sell these advertisers your imaginary demographic. Well, in this case, they've not got imaginary demographic. They've got no demographic once they're finished with it. So they're trying to invent a game which will create one, which is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And the last thing I'll just say on this, it is not clear to me. I don't know if you've heard this is a crazy theory, but it is a theory. It's not clear to me, right, that reducing concussions or head contacts is going to solve the problem of dementia. And in fact, reducing people being knocked out, and this does sound crazy to a lot of people, it doesn't strike me as the best idea. So,
oh no, you've said this before, and I do think it's crazy, mate.
Right.
I do.
Well, but where if you're having 100 interventions every game, right, and your 100 interventions are causing minor to substantial to massive subconcussive hits, would it not be better just to be knocked out in the first two minutes and leave?
I don't. No, I don't.
You're engineering at a point where you're just taking your brain to the nth degree.
Well, no. You see, this is. I think you'll lose a lot of people with this.
Why?
Because
it is absolutely true. There's subconcussive hits. It is absolutely undeniably true.
What
subconcussive hits?
No, it's not. It's not true
TBIs.
But it's not true that only subconcussive hits cause that issue. It's as in you're almost saying it would be better to get knocked out than get a.
If you think about it.
No.
If you got knocked out after 2 minutes...
Mate, no.
Hang on, why not? Just explain it logically. Why?
Because you're predicating that one knockout would prevent someone from having lots of minor hits.
That's exactly what would happen.
But mate, that's crazy. That's crazy thinking.
But is that not true?
That is crazy thinking.
Is that not true?
Well, no, because you could get knocked out in the 80th minute.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you're engineering a situation...
Oh, mate, right? I honestly don't think...
If you're engineering a situation that you'll never get removed from a game of rugby, right, because you're not getting knocked out, it's not a good thing.
Most people don't get... Most people, the vast majority, like to a crazy level, it's a minuscule fraction of a tenth of a percent who get knocked out at any one time ever. I mean, count how many times
exactly.
No, but that's in the game now and for the last 30 years.
Yeah, so
it's not. I don't understand the point.
Okay, the reason I'm saying this is because actual knockouts, as in separation of consciousness, happens very rarely in, say, the armed forces. But the examples of dementia and similar traumatic brain injuries and related conditions are rife in armed services communities. Why is that?
Well, so that would be the point I would make, is just that the point is whatever form rugby takes, like whatever form boxing takes.
Boxing involves a knockout, right?
Well, yeah, but you cannot... Look, my point is, whatever form rugby takes, you cannot prevent the danger, whether that's a broken leg, whether that's a knock to the head. It doesn't matter. And people, as long people willingly accept that risk, and so leave us to it.
Well, I mean, that is an absolutely key point. But what I'm saying is people are also not thinking or accepting second-order consequences. So if you're putting someone in a situation where they will just continue... I mean, if you get knocked down, not only are you removed from a game, you're removed from subsequent games.
But
that is true. That is undeniably true. If you are, say, in the Navy SEALs or Special Forces or some such thing, you are receiving a load of subconcussive hits continuously, whether it be from firing machine guns, whether it be from bumpy vehicle rides, all sorts. And a lot of the trauma which they're receiving at the end of their career is linked to TBIs, but not necessarily knockouts.
But it's so multifactorial. You can't put it down to any one thing.
This
because
is my point.
People
That's exactly right, Tim.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost.
So what we're looking at, right?
So it's is
we're saying.
But you see what you're just putting a giant target on you for being zealot in your own way by going, it would be better if we had a game where people got knocked out.
No. I'm not saying it'd be better, right? I said it might be better, and that the evidence is is utterly incomplete. So if you're telling me, right, that we're going to remove this, like the knockout factor, are you doing that because it's gratuitous on TV, because it's the wrong PR, because that's like the headline thing? And if you remove that, you say, look, we've actually solved the problem now. There's no more problem. And yet what you're doing is you're engineering a situation where lads just get loads more subconcussive hits
I
don't
think they get loads more.
Why?
Because the game hasn't got any... the game hasn't changed in that sense.
The game is changing all the time.
No, but the game hasn't changed in that sense where you will always get subconcussive hits playing rugby.
And
you always have. At every level.
Yeah, but I truly believe that this is the thing which is so ironic about my stance and what people think I think, which is I really believe there is a huge concussion issue at the top level of the game. I think they're looking at it completely the wrong way, because they're looking at let's make sure that there's no more knockouts. When actually, if you watch these guys train and play and you see how hard that they hit each other, for a lot of people, you look at that Heineken Cup final. Right?
Oh no, it's brutal.
If you got knocked out in like the 5th minute, your brain health would be immeasurably better,
mate.
Immeasurably better.
This is where I just can't go. I can't go with you on going. It would be better to be knocked out in 5 minutes than play an 80-minute game of rugby. That's bonkers, mate. That's madness. That's madness.
Because, Because, why? I think that
Well, that's like going, I like drinking.
Because you remove yourself from the game, right?
It'd be better if you had, rather than have a whole night drinking, it'd be better if you just drank that full bottle of vodka so you passed out. And because you might not have as much drink overall.
What would be analogous
for the whole night
would be if you started the Heineken Cup final and immediately broke your leg, it'd be like saying, oh yeah, you'd be better off staying and playing on. And it sounds ridiculous, but the combined wear and tear. And I just don't think they've thought nearly enough about the amount of hits that these guys are getting, and when they're not getting knocked out.
Well, okay.
That's the point.
Well,
the amount of hits that when they're not getting knocked out.
Right, so I think...
It's far more important.
I think your point should be a yes, or it should be a yes and, not a no but. As in, you could go, hold on, don't just focus on knockout things, because that's
exactly what I said.
No, but
it's precisely what I said.
But when you say it would be better to be knocked out in 5 minutes... It might be better,
we don't know.
Right. Okay.
You do not know, right? By removing the thing, right? Your body knocks you out, so you do not continue the activity that caused you to get knocked out. That's why it does it.
Well, no, your body knocks you out because you had such a hit that your body's like, you're physically unable.
Yeah, it must exist, right? That mechanism must exist evolutionary for a reason, and it's probably when your body's had enough. I'll just go.
Well, I guess.
So you're removing that and you're just replacing it with hundreds and hundreds more subconcussive hits. Well, it's a problem.
You're not replacing it. It's an and.
And it's
an and, isn't it? It's not an either or. You've created a binary which isn't a binary.
Well, we'll let the listeners decide, but I think I'm on fairly solid ground there.
Okay. What I would say is that I think the subconcussive hits, as you put it, is definitely been factored in at the top level, because the players are only limited to 45 minutes of full contact in any given training week.
100% correct.
Yeah.
100% correct.
So, but that reflects that there is an awareness of what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a broader injury point as well. So in the NFL, in their collective bargaining agreement, it's literally like a workers' rights thing. Like, we're not going to come to work and do all those things which you've said. And there is an argument, isn't there, once you get to professional level. Do you need to learn how to tackle? Well, actually, yes, because the RFU and World Rugby hold tackle workshops, so potentially you do. But yeah, I think that's more of like a workers' rights collective bargaining thing, which is I don't want to do any more than this, which is absolutely fair.
Yeah,
and smart rugby teams will implement this anyway. And actually, smart rugby teams playing under a very tight salary cap should be doing that, because you need your best 15.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, chuck your thoughts in. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com on the email. Just before we go to the France squad, have you seen the video of Charlie Yules on the row machine?
You mentioned this upstairs. It's crazy.
Yeah, so he, in England training camp, they're obviously doing a 200 metre for time thing, which isn't very long. It doesn't take very long. It certainly doesn't take Charlie Yules very long. He did it in 29 seconds, which is because at first I thought, yeah, that's quite quick, but how quick is it? So I did the calculator of what split time that is, and if you've been on a rower or one of the Concept 2 ergs of any type, you'll understand what a split time is, time per 500 metres. The time per 500 metres that Charlie Yules averaged for his 29-second 200 metre row was 1 minute 12.5 seconds.
Unreal.
1 minute 12.5 seconds.
Yeah, so this is, again, one of the things that I talk about continuously. So I'm doing a weightlifting competition in a few weeks' time. I'm nowhere near strong enough. It's going to be embarrassing, but I'm going to do it. And I asked a few Premiership rugby players what they could lift in this competition. Bearing in mind, I'm fairly well grounded now in sort of amateur CrossFit sort of numbers and what they should be. The numbers blew my mind, and yet we don't know about this. The fact that Charlie Yules he's an elite rugby player. He might be an even more elite rower. And nobody knows. These are the things that we should be talking about because they're incredible. They're absolutely remarkable achievements.
I mean, if by all means, next time you're in a gym, just get on a row machine and just try and hit the highest or lowest split time you can just once. Yeah. Just go for 20 seconds. Just pull as hard as you can to try and get your highest split time. And no way could I get close to Charlie Yules just once, let alone over 30 seconds.
Well, I'll just give you another anecdote about professional rugby players. I know a guy, retired, and if he's listening to this, he'll know exactly who he is and who I'm talking about. But he'll say himself, I was never a top-level rugby player. Well, he played in the Premiership, so he was he was good enough. And we were talking about lifts the other day. Now, an 80-kilogram snatch is no mean feat.
No, that's good.
It's difficult. And he says, yeah...
Which, for any uninitiated, is taking the bar from the floor to above your head without catching it at your shoulders in between.
Yes. So kind of straight up. And he does 80 for reps from, the hang power position.
Wow.
Because that's what he does. And he's I guess he's 43 to 45, maybe a bit older. He just does that for fun. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. So, so this is who you're watching. And, I don't know, the rugby authorities decide that no one's interested. We should all be interested. It's amazing.
Well, it is amazing, and it also further highlights, just to dovetail back, very briefly, although not wanting to go down that rabbit hole, but it just does highlight the difference between the community game and the elite game.
Yes,
and
it does, doesn't it?
The vast, incalculable difference in risk for elite players than amateur players.
Did you see that Instagram video that I sent you earlier on today?
No.
Sent it to our group. So we have a group that used to play rugby draft together. I sent it because I thought it was interesting. It's an American coach, and he was talking about the development of young kids. And he pointed out that kids who pitch in the mini World Series, is that the right word for it? The mini World Series, as in the World Series of baseball played by kids.
Okay, well, whatever
kids
that
World
is.
Series,
called,
whatever that is, right? So they very rarely pitch at the senior level, at the elite level. And the reason is because the very best kids are taught skill, and skill is great, and all the skills are fine. But your window for learning skills is a lot bigger than your window for learning athleticism, working out, becoming a physical specimen. So you might have all the skills in the world, but if you don't have that physical base, then you're not going to make the top level. It just got me thinking about how rugby talks about itself now, because we want to promote all the positive things in rugby rather than what you really need, which is sheer brutality. And it's all about fun and being with your mates.
Yeah. Oh, that as well.
But you know what? It's a lot. Courage is really important, but it's a lot easier to be courageous when you're an absolute mutant.
How can I put this in the in family-friendly terms? So, someone that you know quite well, involved in rugby at quite a high level, said to one of the lads in my under-16s team, son's team, said, I'm going to name no names, and he said, yeah, get in the gym, work out, because
100%.
Best case scenario, you end up being a Sale Sharks player. You might play for England, and awesome. Worst case scenario, you'll clean up.
Yeah, girls will like you. It's not a hard thing. There's a lad that comes with his dad to our CrossFit gym, and he must be 15. I'm like, you need to stay in here and you need to do extras.
I'm so jealous of Louis. I'm so jealous of my son Louis. Has been coming to CrossFit for about a year now. I imagine if we'd found CrossFit at 14, Jay.
I can't. I simply, my mind would be blown. Yeah, absolutely blown. But this is the point, right? So the reason this triggered me when I was watching this clip is I was thinking, bloody hell, I wonder if there's something in this for rugby. Because when you listen to rugby, it's all about skills. And do you remember our conversation on Sunday when we're talking about like how vast England's player pool is? What are they doing with them would be the first question, because it doesn't seem too productive. And then I thought, like, what are the South Africans doing? Now, I'm not saying we should go full South Africa.
Feeding them kilos of biltong. And,
yeah, and some of the...
Go and visit that doctor down that alleyway there.
Yeah, some of the results they achieve are, suspicious, but let's just enjoy it. Let's not ask any questions. Let's just enjoy it.
They're Dutchmen, aren't they? They're just huge.
Yeah, have you seen the Duan van der Merwe picture at a barbecue when he's 17?
I think
Something go. I mean, it's just working hard, isn't it?
Maybe it's just an Instagram filter that made
it's a filter. It's a filter.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be that level of testosterone at that age. We just don't know, do we? We just don't know.
Good braai barbecue. So anyway, Charlie Yaws is a mutant.
Yeah, and the scary thing is, probably not even in the top 5 best rowers in the Premiership. He might be, actually, because he's a second row.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be a second row or a tall back row.
Tom Wood has got some ridiculous splits.
Yeah, I can believe that, actually. I'm thinking who would be really good. That guy who's at Northampton, the Alex Moon.
Moon, yeah. All the second rows
he's incredibly fit.
All the second rows will be good. And you've got to remember that Matt Simons, who played for Harlequins and Wasps and the Irish and Chiefs, famously, he was a rower of a very high stature before he was a rugby player, and actually he told me that he was much fitter as a rower than he ever was as a rugby player, which is incredible.
Fit for what, though?
Rowing.
Yeah, fit for rowing.
Yeah. And he also said that he's much fitter in New Zealand than he was over in the Premiership. Because he said in the Chiefs they would just play from anywhere. So if a tap and go was on, they would just tap and go.
Yeah.
But, is that the kind of rugby you want? No. You want Will Skelton in La Rochelle. That's what you want.
Well, speaking of that, let's have a look at that French squad, because, I mean, they've named their 42-man preliminary squad, so 9 players will have to be shaved off of this one, and maybe more if people like Anthony Gelonch manage to get back and fit. He's got an ACL injury, which I think is going to keep him out till August, so I suspect he'll probably miss the World Cup, which is a shame for him, but... My God, JB, they're stacked.
Yeah, and they've not called up Emmanuel Miorfu, and I can't really understand.
He's available after the World Cup.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Like, there was the way it's covered, I've always understood he is available after the World Cup.
Yeah.
But they're covering it like he should be available now.
No, I think his eligibility, I think it may have had something to do with COVID. I'm not sure.
Do you know what? It might be something to do with the fact that he is eligible for another country, Australia. And that's why the interest is, because he's having to forfeit a World Cup to go and play for France.
That is it. It was because Eddie Jones called him straight away, day one, and said, "Have I missed the boat?" And he said, "Yeah, I think you have, Eddie."
Yeah, well, why would you move from Toulouse? You're top 14 champion, semi-finals of the Heineken Cup. Things are going absolutely great. The only thing which can really happen now is you're going to get paid even more money, and you're going to be an absolute icon in France. So why would you possibly go back to Australia?
Yeah, I'm looking at their squad. My God.
I think one of the biggest inclusions here is Baptiste Saran.
Yes, I agree. That's really good. Well, him and Brice Dulin are back in the squad.
So France have obviously got Dupont, and he's nailed on number 1. And after that it is, do you say his name, Luku?
Maxime Luku.
Yeah, who's nice, great player. Well, good player, but not particularly special. He's the sort of guy that you bring on to sort of, I don't know, close off a game.
So, and that's what I think it'll be. I don't think Saran will be on the bench. I think it will be Dupont starting, Luku on the bench, and if Dupont's not available or they choose to rotate, I think Saran starts. So
there's a kind of analogy here with England, who did something similar. So I'm trying to think which way we're on this one. Was it? I think it was with fly halves. Like they were going to start.
No. So it would be. I think it will be the way England do it. So I think Farrell will likely start at 10.
Yeah.
Marcus Smith will likely be on the bench.
Yeah.
If Owen Farrell's not available, George Ford will
exactly
start at 10.
Yeah, yeah.
We did talk about this the other week.
Yeah, so it's kind of analogous to that, I think. But it's an almighty squad, and imagine... I mean, it's not like... I don't think the Six Nations squads are that important, actually, because they've already been together for a campaign in the Six Nations. They know each other fairly well. It's not like they're all coming from different leagues. And the Irish essentially contracted, Scottish not quite, but they're all familiar. Same with the Welsh. Whereas I think these camps really matter for the smaller nations: Georgia, Tonga, Fiji, Samoa. That's where the focus should be at this point, because this is the time which they'll find absolutely invaluable now. Whereas the others, I mean, yes, it's important, of course, but
this is more about who are going to be the I'm just thinking 23-man squad. Who are going to be the 9 players that aren't in the first team? Do
you know what's just astounding me, though, is the attitude of some of the Welsh guys, and I understand it in a lot of ways. So Justin Tipuric apparently...
I'll just pull the mic in.
Sorry, Justin Tipuric apparently said to Warren Gatland he just doesn't think his body is ready for the rigours of a World Cup preparation, which is incredible, really. Bearing in mind what that man's been through, like the fact that World Cup preparation should be this hard. But Wales' World Cup preparation has been notoriously hard ever since they've been in the mountains of France or wherever else that they've been in the past. And it also tells me that the Six Nations teams and the established teams use this time now basically to work on their fitness, to get in the best possible condition that they can be, whereas the Fijis and Tongas are basically using this time to get to know each other, if indeed it's they're even together.
Yeah. It's a stacked squad. There's a couple of young lads, though, to keep an eye on. The Louis Biel-Barret, I think,
no idea.
Winger for Bordeaux, right. 19 years old, just shit off a stick, awesome.
Good.
And Emilian Gaeton, the centre winger, one of those could make the squad, and they are both like 19, 20, awesome. Just brilliant. Awesome. If they weren't in the French squad, they'd be involved in the under-20s this weekend, which is starting.
Are you going to watch any of this under-20s?
Yeah, I will.
Are you going to do any work on it?
For ITV this weekend, I'll be voicing the wrap-up show.
Now, are you worried about AI taking over on the tennis?
Oh, mate. AI is coming for all of our jobs in broadcasting. It's unreal. I mean, I'm taking the sort of opinion that so there's a bit of software being launched called Radio GPT, and basically, basically this company in California or Ohio, actually, I think it's Cleveland, they have developed this software which basically they're going to radio stations now going, you don't need human presenters, we can do it for you.
Oh wow, so sinister.
It's really quite the most annoying part of this is it actually sounds quite good. It sounds quite good, but
they turn up on time.
Yeah, well, they don't need holidays. They don't need holidays, lunch breaks, or money. But I'm taking the view if I can be replaced by a machine, I just need to be better. So,
well, you make a good point. I mean, maybe rugby will. It's hard to say. I mean, I've not heard any of the AI commentary from Wimbledon. Have you?
No. Oh, sorry, this is why you asked.
Yes.
There's AI commentary.
Oh, you've not heard this?
No.
Yes, there's AI commentary for Wimbledon this year. And I don't know where...
Surely this is just like descriptive stuff.
No idea.
Whatever the case, it's incredible. Some of the stuff you're able to do. But then there's things now, and we need to get on this with the podcast, but just to... here's a great example. So this demonstrates what can be done and how much time it could save you and what doors it could open up. A friend of mine... had to sign a little license because he was used as a test voice for one of these companies doing this kind of work.
Wow.
So he had to sign all these legal papers. What they were able to do is he read something into a microphone.
Yep.
It instantly transcribed it. He cannot speak Spanish. It instantly transcribed it into English, instantly converted it into Spanish, instantly made his voice, quote unquote, speak perfect Spanish.
That's incredible.
All like that.
That's incredible. So in our business, Beardmore & Co, Independent Financial Advisors, we are trialling like dictation software, speech to text, and we've actually bought this stuff from one of the market leaders. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So I'm amazed that works so well, actually.
Well, and so there's one for, like, you don't need to have, like, so I'm looking at a waveform now on a audio editing software. You don't need to understand audio editing software anymore. People can record a podcast, hit stop. It will have instantly transcribed the text.
Yes.
And you can delete the bits of text you want to take out, and it will delete that from the audio.
Amazing. That is a bit of a game changer.
Yeah. And there's ones where, again, so you record a podcast, it can do that. You can just delete, I'll take that paragraph out, and it will take the audio out and just make it sound perfect. And then it will also, you just hit a button and it will tell you, here's what I suggest the title is for the podcast. Here's a description for it, for all your metadata, and here's some, it analyzes it. It can summarize what the podcast is about. It can automatically take what it has decided, it has worked out from algorithms, what is the best clip to take, and it will automatically cut that out and put it ready to go in TikTok or Instagram or Twitter. It's bonkers. And this is the way I'm looking at it. It could save people so much time.
Couldn't it just? So on tennis, I see it being completely possible that AI could probably do it, because I guess there's two people, there's a number of strokes. I'm sure tennis fans will be like, JB, what are you talking about? It's such a complex game. I'm sure it's very complex. Yeah, sure. I wonder how AI would deal with the breakdown, because, I mean, that really is difficult. And I think maybe rugby has got a stay of execution for its commentators, because it is so bloody complicated.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You need 3 or 4 guys all pondering what happened to work out what's
cricket, tennis, baseball. They've all got limited. I mean, yeah, it's complex in its own way. There's nuances, but it's simple. There's lots of those elements that are closed.
100 meters, no problem.
Yeah,
there's some things which are no problem, and there's rugby which would be a bit of a nightmare, I'd imagine. But who knows? I mean, these things develop incredibly quickly. As for podcasting, I mean, all these chatbots are a compilation of, and I say chatbots because they're not really AI, they're just chatbots, which go through the internet and then just pick up things which are of interest. And they're actually a bit more impressive than that, but effectively they are.
Because but in only a couple of years, 90% of all articles online will be AI generated.
Yeah, because do you know why though? Because journalists are terrible. So it's not because of anything else, because journalists are terrible. I'm pretty safe as a broadcaster. No AI is going to come up with the idea that it's a good idea to get knocked out on a rugby pitch and then back out with argument. No one is. So, maybe if journalists put a bit more effort into their work and actually thought about second order consequence and, thought through their thoughts, they would save their jobs. But the vast majority of ones which I've encountered, with a few exceptions, they're screwed. So same with the woke. I mean, you could easily program an AI to do some woke podcast. It'd be easy. It'd be the easiest thing in the world. Wave the flag and cheer. I tell you who could be replaced by AI, his views were so predictable, was the ex-head of Premiership comms. I mean, it's almost like his job was done by AI for the longest time. So, yeah, bad people will lose their jobs to AI, and they deserve it.
That's where I've got to. So message is be better. And with that in mind, we are just a quick reminder that we're here every single Monday morning, 52 weeks of the year, even when we're not actually physically here. But we will be back again to record a proper podcast based on the latest news, which may have happened Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we can hear all about Phil and his brilliant effort with Rally for Rupert, which you should go and check out online and give him your support. Let the boys play.
I was right.